not working out. So tonight we didn't leave with a lot of, we had a lot of conversation around, you know, the presentation, the 3.99 proposal, but we didn't really leave with suggestions for where to go, what percentage to get down to, or things like that. So, you know, we initially, as Amanda and I were talking, we said, okay, well, this will be the meeting where we kind of get some direction. But then, as I was thinking about it, based on what we know about the budget, based on, you know, I wanted to provide some options to kind of show you and give you a little bit of background as to where we are right now. So I'm going to share my screen. Morgan, I gave some copies of the part of the presentation. So we'll take you through those slides. I'm not going to revisit all those other slides that we went through the other day.
Just corrected over. On a German. It's German, you don't want to touch it. It's German. It is better, yeah.
So we will hunt.
You're looking at something.
So when last we met, I gave kind of a tier 1 set of cuts. And so just revisiting that, that's the first, I believe that's the first page on that packet. That brought us down to a 3.08 increase.
Okay, yeah, okay.
And that went with hiring, resigned positions or retirements, taking some savings there of about $40,000. Restructuring the tier 2 gen ed academic support to include direct support from our subject specific teachers. You heard that presentation from Lou about the ASH program and how that's working. And so that's that piece of the kids getting support from certified teachers during study halls. And then reducing the 1.0 unfilled math position, which based on our class sizes for math is not something that I suggest, but there's not a person attached to that position. So that's where we were last week. And the conversation was really around what else can we do? What are some other options, specifically as it relates to the concerns about Wilmington's numbers being so high. So that's just a with each of these, I included a, and thank you to Amanda for giving me an editable version of the levy so that I could plug numbers in and actually get, actually I only have to change one number and the whole document changes and it's absolutely beautiful. So this is just the backup information with more detail about what that number means coming from the that number, from that our original budget projection, and how it trickles down into what the town's contribution is. Any questions so far? Okay, so lots of choices. So one of the things over the past couple of weeks, we've had some additional retirements. So, I mean, was able to take a bigger savings. So you'll notice that number of $40,000 is $70,000. I did have a conversation with each of the individuals whose positions we were discussing as a potential cut. As a result, one of them shared an intent to retire. So when we see the reduction of IA by retirement, it's included in that big number of 104. But that's that position separated out, being cut by attrition. And then,
can I have a quick question?
Sure.
So instructional assistants are
do we hire some instructional assistants and some we hire from EastCon?
We do.
Okay, I just was.
We
yeah,
do,
I didn't know, yeah.
Yeah, and so when you go through the budget book and you see, an IA that, has one salary and an IA that has another
Mhm,
salary,
mhm.
one is a contracted service if it comes
Okay, yeah.
through, Econ, and one is, you know, there's not very many IAs, left who are
Mhm.
employees of EO. We tried to
Okay.
kind of move them over. That was a process that was here when I got here, that we
Yeah,
were trying to move
yeah.
folks over to Econ.
Yeah, okay.
Along with that are, you know, these positions are gen ed instructional assistants. They are not special education instructional
Mhm,
assistants.
Okay,
So the last number, the 24,6, is me going through the budget and nickel and diming an already very bare bones budget on the part of the departments. They did a really, really great job. I tried to not do it. And then as I got further into the process, just to be able to bring you real life numbers of what we're dealing with and what would be cut, I went in and dug deep. So it's basically $1,000 from this department, 2,500 from this department, based on a variety of things. You know, was it an increase in their budget, even though it was, you know, minimal? And I did look at what the expenditures were for the year before. So that's A, and I was just gonna have A, but then I'm like, oh, what about B? So B is just eliminating those departmental cuts. Because again, our folks haven't really had huge increases to their stuff in the 4 years that I've been here. They've kept things very, very flat, and they do. But I did want to share that, so this is what it would look like. So one, we're looking at 112.5 increase. That would, you know, we're kind of not going in the direction that I think that we wanted you to, but I wanted to show you all of the different scenarios. Levies. Option 3 would be, again, taking those savings out of the resignations or retirements, and just the restructure of the tier 2 general ed academic support piece. That would bring us down to a 3.25 budget. And you can see the impact it would have on Ashford, Wellington, and Mansfield. It does get Wellington down below 5.
Can you speak to that a bit in terms of the practicality of that change from subject-specific teachers to the gen ed IAs?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
give us some idea of what does that mean for both the student and the teacher?
So right now, it's happening across departments. So, the 4 main departments have subject-specific study halls. The teachers do not have duties. We're looking at ways that,
Can you translate that for me? Don't have students?
oh, they're not sitting outside a bathroom or necessarily, and some teachers do, but our core subject areas are in subject-specific study halls. And so they can either, subject teachers can either refer kids in, students can refer themselves in. It's now being used as an intervention where students can be programmed in for, you know, based on if they're being brought up at say, a CAT or a SAT meeting, a student assistance team meeting, they can be scheduled into, for a certain amount of time, into one of those study halls.
My question was the difference. So the study hall itself isn't changing, it's more just who supporting it, right? And I guess,
Yeah, we're
No.
not using the gen eds.
That's what
Yeah,
I'm getting
so
at.
the gen ed IAs have a variety of different functions within the building.
If we're
some of those
restructuring and
functions,
cutting those
give us
people,
pros,
is that
cons,
gonna be a,
maybe.
yeah,
Pros, cons of this
Yeah.
the pros and
situation,
cons, the pros are that the kids are going to be getting support from subject area teachers. The cons are, you know, we never like cutting people, cutting positions. In our opinion, these positions have the least impact on adult to student interaction. So there's other functions, and I think Deborah shared a little bit of this last week. It's more of a support to teachers, making copies, servicing the copier, doing some other things rather than providing direct support. Some of them do, and some of them occasionally do provide direct support to students. But it's not necessarily consistent. It's certainly not consistent across disciplines because we have 2 gen ed IAs in the English department. We have 1 in the math department. We do have 1 in the social studies department, but that is grant funded. So, and in that particular case, because it's grant funded, we have to demonstrate that there is consistent student to teacher interaction.
The impact is less on the student than it is on the teachers, it sounds like.
Correct.
Okay, that's what I was trying to understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
For option 2 or for option 3?
Or
Option
option
three.
3, just the second bullet of option
Yeah.
3. That's what I was
Okay.
sort of trying to understand better, the impact of that. And then, so I guess, so speak to that, you would then, in terms of that impact on teachers.
So I think some departments, and not all, so English, maybe social studies, and math, have more support staff to help with making copies and doing prep things for their class. Like I said, maintaining the copier and making sure that, we're getting an email if there's, if the copier is broken, or things like that. That would be an example. With that said, I mean, whenever you're losing a person who's been here, you lose a piece of our culture, and climate and, relationships and connections. That's certainly a piece and it's a concern. But when we're in a time where we're really looking at every penny, making sure that when we do make the decisions, it's a decision that's going to have the least impact on the student experience.
If we lose them now, is it a circumstance where we might end up needing them at some point later? Because then it doesn't necessarily make sense to lose them now if we know we're gonna, or think we might need them again.
If there's a special education need, which would shift the role here altogether, as it is right now, there's no student that's required to receive services from these individuals because they're general ed IAs, so they're kind of all over. We lost a math IA when one of our IAs went to become a teacher and an instructional assistant at Depot. Science had one, I guess, years ago. Since I've been here, we haven't had one in science. So there is a bit of an inequity in the support that the teachers have, which has kind of been a point of contention during that time. It really is a luxury, to be quite honest, to have gen ed instructional assistants. It was something that was kind of new to me coming into this district because we didn't have those in my prior district. It's special ed IAs are obviously, or paras are common, but gen ed IAs are rare.
Thank you.
I had a question about the teachers that are assigned to these specific, helping, study halls. Is that something that they're assigned, or do they have to agree to it?
It's their duty, so they're assigned.
Okay.
So are the AIs picking up some of the duties that the teachers that are now in the study halls possibly would have been doing?
Some, like a lunch duty here and there.
Okay.
But in conversations with Lou and the directors, they didn't seem to think that it was something that was huge.
Okay.
Do they appreciate the opportunity to do this, or is this, how is it viewed by the people that are assigned if they don't have I'll do that, on my own? I'm happy to do it. It's a difference if it's your choice or not. So are they pleased with it?
So that was something that Lou talked a little bit about when he was showing us the data. There's a department that is just running with it and it's working really well. We would like that to kind of be
the model
for what that will look like moving forward. Again, this is last year was a pilot with a couple of departments, and now it's expanded to 4, and the goal is to expand it so that it can include some of our specials as well. But really getting the processes and procedures down. So like what we know, and based on, again, the data that Lou shared last week, we know that when students when they're in these subject-specific study halls, when they are provided support and assistance, when they have the opportunity to reflect on that we see that there's an increase in their attendance, in their continued attendance, and there's an increase in their buy-in to the whole process of getting the support. It's caught on, to be perfectly honest with you, it's caught on in a couple of departments stronger than others, but that's a piece where we need to work on that and just make sure that, again, if we're looking for clarity and consistency across departments, that's one of the many areas that requires, we have to look at how we can be more consistent in our practices if we're going to give guaranteed experiences to kids across all courses, all departments, and throughout the school. So that will be our goal. It is far from perfect, but we're able to service far more students than we could with, small groups working with instructional assistants.
Yeah, and if you've ever run study halls, which you have, I'd much rather be helping people with, of course, it was all subjects because we didn't have that. That was a lot easier for people sitting in a study hall to have somebody that would help them with their different courses. So it was much quieter and much more productive and not as much of a drain as you might think.
Yeah, I loved study hall. I did.
Can I just add something? So I think the IAs, I was not aware that there were general ed IAs in these sorts of numbers video. I think it's pretty unusual in high schools. I haven't heard about it before. So I wonder about that. And I also wonder, the class sizes are pretty low. So if the IAs are photocopying, are they actually copying a lot in this day and age? So on that side, it kind of makes me wonder whether this is whether we could afford to drop one. On the other hand, we know that students are really continuing to recover from the pandemic, and they need all the academic support they can get. So I guess my question for you, Sharon, is, are these people really providing academic support that is accelerating learning in the classrooms?
The instructional assistants?
The instructional assistants, yeah.
We feel we'll get more traction out of our subject-specific study halls than we currently are right now.
With the subject teachers.
Teachers, yeah.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
And just as a follow-on to that, you have in say 2, A and B, a line item about the reduction of an IA by retirement.
Mm-hmm.
Is that 42.5 a portion
It is.
of that? Okay.
Yep, so it's
that-
one of the 3.
Okay, understood.
Yep.
Thank you.
It's one of 3.
One of 3.
Okay, so we're
Whereas-
looking at all 3 of them, yeah.
Whereas on 3, it's
Right.
eliminating that.
Two additional, technically.
Right,
The 2
retirement plus
additional, it's that one
Right.
and the 2 additional.
Right.
Okay.
104, yeah, 104.
And so this would remove all IAs,
Yeah,
All gen
Gen
ed
ed
IAs,
IAs.
yep, of which there are
all 3, yeah,
this first one,
minus, so
yeah,
the minus,
yeah,
the grant funded individual
which isn't Gen Ed, though, right? Or
is gen
It
ed,
is Gen Ed.
but is connected to a special education
Yeah, okay,
grant, so
Yep.
there has to be the student to adult connection.
And we have the student,
I'm sorry?
we have that, is it student
It's not
specific?
a student specific,
Okay.
but there has to be, in that
student.
grant, there has to be students. It really
Okay.
should be, it's a
Okay.
plural of, there has to be, confirmed and kind of data to support that there's, support being provided from that person to students.
Okay.
Either in the classroom or in pull-out, support.
so Sharon, I'm sorry, but can you just go back and talk about the reducing by the one unfilled math position? you feel like that's something that, if you go back to the savings and reductions originally, that you're approximately the 215,000,
Yeah, I'm, so
if we went with this?
if we went with this, we would lose a math position. We would then have to have some serious conversation around the math position that we moved to CTE. So, math had two positions over the past couple of years. They had a position with a computer science teacher who, left, and we were unable to fill it. We're, many efforts, but that expertise, what we are doing is training a person we currently have to be able to take some of those classes, and those have actually started. The other position was vacated at the beginning of this year, and again, finding a teacher was really, really challenging. What we ended up doing was, they condensed classes, so those classes are a little bit bigger this year than they have been in the past. And we took one of the sections that could not be condensed or combined, and one teacher is working outside of their 5 classes, so they're teaching 6 classes instead of 5. So, in looking at the class size, as a school, we have really great class sizes. We really do. Just to somebody's point, who, cutting additional teachers at this point, especially in math, and especially if we're considering an IA position being reduced, I think that would be a mistake.
Yeah.
I also think that, that now you have been able to raise the number from 40 to 70 on, and so the difference between that original proposal and 3 isn't that big.
No, it's not,
And that doesn't have you reducing any teacher,
Teacher positions.
positions. And it accomplishes getting Willington below 5.
Are we agreeing that 3 is sounding good, Tony? Is that what-
I'm thinking 3,
Yeah.
3 sounds pretty good.
yeah, without the
I'm
position.
agreeing with you, just to
This one right here?
express some
Yeah.
support, yeah. I agree, I'm not a fan of that math elimination.
Mhm.
I agree with that.
Thanks, Marty.
Go there right now. What's that?
The 2 people,
I just
2
think
IAs
it's part of the
would
conversation,
lose
but I
their
don't think we
positions.
can afford to lose a math.
Have they been here a long time?
Right.
There's too much
They
other
have.
stuff going
Right.
on there.
I think we.
And one is retiring.
Of the 3, 1 is
One,
retiring,
so the
and 2 would be remaining, or 2
Well,
would be.
and that's after having the conversations with them.
Can I ask one other question
Mhm.
about those, are those EastCon or?
They both
Yeah.
ours.
And then were there IAs that you were moving over that are EastCom in addition?
The person
Is that one?
who is, retiring, or
That's the,
that's the EastCon.
the other 2
The
are
other 2 are EO.
So in terms of, just a question about the salary for the, if you're trying to fill the math position, is 70,000 gonna cut it? I guess is my question, or in terms of finding somebody?
Yeah, when I calculated that piece, I took into I only took a savings on 0.8
Mhm.
of the position, because we're already paying 0.2
Okay.
right now.
Yeah, so
and is that the position that would be moving to CTE, or is this a different?
No, that's a different position.
This
Yeah.
different. The other one's-
So the other we moved to CT, so you'll see when you look at, when we look at the census,
Yep.
you see that math, is down 1 and
Yeah.
CTE is up 1. so
But that's not the
position.
But is that position also unfilled?
It is also unfilled, correct?
but we have budgeted for it,
We
right?
have budgeted for it.
Right, okay.
So it's 4, so this one was, taking all of the cuts, including the departmental nickel and diamond cuts, but keeping the math position intact.
Mhm. I really don't see how the nickel and diamond 24,000 really has a
Agreed.
significant impact on anything, and why do it?
Yeah, if we need our subject area teachers, then we should keep the subject area teacher, or definitely try to rehire for that position.
So it really means, I think we're leaning toward the position that
Number three,
has two people being,
three?
well, one is retiring.
Yeah, but number three, I mean, in terms of.
Don't look at the last one then. 'Cause I'm like, all right, if I'm gonna be complete in
No.
Oh,
my
what's the last?
presentation-
Oh, we haven't gone all the way.
Yeah.
This one takes out everything.
This one gives me, I don't know.
No, I don't think that, and it isn't a huge difference, really, is it?
No.
No, because we've seen so many, so many combinations of the scenarios.
Sharon, just, I don't know if it's connected or not, there's a line, page C8, teachers on special assignment, there's two starting in the 2023-2024 school year, carrying forward. You may have explained this, but what are those?
Those are curriculum instruction and assessment coaches that we hired, with grant funds that we've been slowly getting into our operating budget over the past couple of years.
Looks like so there's two total and they just hit in 23-24, and then they'll carry forward from there, it sounds like.
Right, yeah, so, yeah, is that the census?
Yes.
Yeah, the census.
Oh, wait, so this is
the bane
not,
of-
but,
The bane of my existence.
I'm sorry, so this isn't where the dollars come from, C8, sorry. This isn't where the dollars come from, this is just an account.
Yes.
Okay, so there's a difference there, you're saying, okay, got it. I can understand that, so.
I have a hypothetical question.
Okay.
Let's say we go with number three, which seems to be, I think, the one that most people seem to be comfortable with. And let's say that over the course of the next year, I know from talking about you and Amanda, that it looks like with the special ed costs that are going up, we can absorb that, and deal with it for this year. Let's say the same thing happened next year. Where would we be able to cut? if we needed to?
Question, we're getting, quite honestly, I mean, there's no fluff
I know.
in our budget. And so we would have to then go back to the drawing board and say, okay, when we're looking at, when we can't cut any more stuff, when we're down to bare bones for running program, we do have to, then we have to take a look at class sizes. We have to take a look at retirements and see if there's, positions that might not need to be filled by attrition.
Sure.
But again, just in all honesty, I truly believe that the power in our students, getting through recovery from COVID, that are the power in kind of getting and having the best educational experience, and especially getting to a more student-centered approach to instruction, is having a small student to teacher ratio. So the bigger our class size gets, the least,
Less
less
attention.
attention they get, the less flexible, I think, or responsive teachers can be in, informative to some of the assessment, all of that stuff. So, we'd have to dig deep. I'm not quite sure where we would go, but we'd have to look at the folks who have the least amount of student contact, in my opinion, when we're making those decisions. Nick?
For the CTE position and the other math position, how long have those both been open for and unfilled?
So one has been open for 2 years and we ended up cutting the computer stuff, the computer classes. We also had some of our a math teacher teaching a class that is tandem with one of our manufacturing classes for CTE. That's been, I want to say 2 years. The other position has been this past August, there was the resignation. And so that's when the class sizes went up. The other teacher was pretty specific in the courses that they taught. So, those courses just hadn't been offered for a bit.
Because my only concern would be like budgeting for a position that hasn't been filled for 2 years and then removing two people that already have positions. And it's like, if the CTE position had been open for 2 years.
It was the math computer position. So we've been working on, and Renee has been doing a really great job working with the teacher to get them in a position where they're qualified to teach those classes. So we're able to start ramping up the computer side. The CTE side is building a manufacturing pathway. It's certainly something that we could consider. We could think about it as it's an unfilled position, but then options become limited. And the pathway that we actually started this year, where there's, some feeder classes that, we have to hire somebody, we have to find someone, and we're working with QBCC to try and make that happen. But there's gotta be funding for the position in order for us to build that pathway.
Yeah, along those lines, what I was wanting to comment is that one of our goals seems to be to create more offerings.
Yeah.
You know, we increased how many more English classes we're offering. You want to do pathways. That's not really possible or sustainable if we're decreasing teachers or being so tight in the budget that we can't add a teacher, if we need it, because we're not gonna be able to accomplish those goals here if that's the case. And also within the framework of smaller classes so that kids could do well in, especially some of these specialty classes, that they want to, some of these pathways, the CTE and things like that, seems like you do need smaller classes. So I just think that's something we need to think about moving in the direction, if that's the direction we still want.
Yeah, we also have, it's feast or famine, just to be, again, perfectly honest, and I know, like, so many of your kids have gone here. So you know that there are some classes that are 24, 25, and there are some classes that are 10. That, we just actually, it will be in our next board packet, but, Renee does an amazing job with ECE. She shared with me the increase in the number of ECE classes, and the number of AP classes that we offer. We went from being, in the top 10 to, I think, again, being number 1 in the number of not only ECE classes that we offer, but in the number of students who take them, which is, a credit to, I think, the equity piece and the work that folks are doing and encouraging every student to have an opportunity to take an ECE class and earn college credit. So, it's that balance between the fiscal reality and the philosophy of where we really want to not just go, but continue to build toward.
Weigh in on that too, sorry. Okay.
No, I think just for us to take a look, and I'm looking at either 2A or 2B as opposed to 3. And if you look at the dollar difference, if you put the 24/6 back in instead of eliminating 2 people, it's really, Willington gets down virtually to 5, it's 5.05. And the dollar difference is for the towns is, under that one, Ashford pays 114, Mansfield 52, and Willington 222. And under 3, it's only 7,000 different for Ashford. It's like 22,000 different for Mansfield, and it's 9,000 different for Willington. It's not that big a deal. And to me, if we consider that, it also leaves you the possibility in another year where you need to add a teacher staff. You could look at the IAs then. And you hold on to them now. And if you need to get a teacher, maybe you have to revisit that, but it gives them another year at least.
But I guess I hear what you're saying. And I'm thinking about what Morgan said too. IAs are kind of a privilege, and in a sense, and I guess I would want them to be doing more than just copying. And I'm looking at what they're getting paid, and I'm like, okay, it's not a lot of money, but it's a lot to be just copying. Or if that's truly what they're doing.
And it's not, that's a piece of it.
Unless it can be relocated to another, over the depot or something, and have a more valued role, I guess.
Or is it possible to spread them a little thinner to have it across different departments?
Yep. I think that is possible as well. Actually, we have a proposed change to the actual job description that needs to go to personnel.
Because I think you said there's an equitable issue there, because some departments, like science, doesn't have any.
Right.
I think if we were to keep them, it would be worth our while to figure out how to even it out. I do think that does leave the possibility, though, to leave it on the table to take a look at if we face a situation where we have tight budget and we need to hire a teacher. At that point, you say, get rid of the IA. But I don't think you get that much of a difference, like, for instance, between 2A and 3, really.
So, a quick comment. I think yours is a good observation, Nick. It's something that may come up relative to the open CTE. But I'll definitely weigh in that that's an area that I feel anyway really needs to get built up, right? I think we're behind in that area. And so I really, as much as sort of on the face of it, it sort of looks, to your point, good observation, what are we doing? But I don't think I want to take the pedal off, off the pedal in that area. Really need to be there. I think it's something you can see. I think, look at your awards and student recognition. There's not a single STEM on that whole list, right? BOAG, social studies, language, sports, lots of things. There is nothing for STEM on that whole awards and recognition list. It's great, but it sort of backs up that weakness in that area, that we should be seeing more of that on there, for that. So just wanted to add that.
Yeah, I agree, and I don't think I was advocating for that fully, but just to put that forward of like, you're taking two people out of position, but you also have a position that, I think we all want to move that in that direction. But on the face of it, that doesn't look great. So like, we're trying to move in this direction, which we haven't filled the position yet, but at the cost of removing two people.
It's, I mean, moving that forward is a huge challenge when it comes to, it's a lose sleep at night kind of a challenge when you're looking at, that piece of, what's ultimately going to benefit the most students. And I think that that's part of the question as well, is when, when we're making decisions and Amanda and I are having conversations, it's, where's the most, extension of influence from the individuals that we have, where we can see the most needs of kids being met.
Well, I agree with Tony's analysis that if you keep them for now, you're not having any effect on whether or not we still have open positions and we have people to fill. What you do, well, it may in the short term be considered somewhat of a luxury. You do keep people for another year, number one, which isn't a bad thing. The real dollars, in terms of keeping those people, really don't come down to a whole big amount. And if push comes to shove, it's kind of what I was getting at before when I was using the analogy with special ed, but it's the same sort of thing, that if in the future we get that extra position that we really want to have, if these folks are not here, who are we going to cut out so we can get that position that we really want? It's the same sort of thing. And again, it's a luxury in the short term. It may provide a flexibility that we won't have down the line.
Yeah, it's under, like I said, the difference between 2A and 3 is what, $35,000?
Yeah.
It is above 5 for Willington though, 2A.
Yeah.
So what does Sarah think? Is Sarah there?
Yeah, I'm here. I was just gonna wait until
Jim,
until Tony and Jim had spoken. Why don't you continue, then I'll pick up.
Okay, no, I mean, and that's an issue. I mean, I think if your objective is to get below 5, it doesn't do it, but it gets you virtually to 5. I mean, and that's something Willington has to decide. I thought I heard Arthur last week
about
saying
5.
and he felt like the numbers weren't enough to fight about.
Right,
when
that's
you're
what I thought he said.
at that number. But I mean, that I think we need to check in. But I also think I'm agreeing with Jim with the additional caveat that I think we need to find a way to spread them. We keep them to spread them out.
Absolutely. And that is actually part of that proposal moving forward with revised job descriptions, is that they would be deployed across departments.
Yeah.
I know positions should be, can I just ask a quick question? I know positions shouldn't be specific to the person, but what are their backgrounds? And, could we use them in a better way if they have a particular area that they have an expertise in or skill set?
I think that's the way it used to be here. So
Yeah.
there was a science IA who specifically had a strong science background, and that person is now a teacher for us, which is awesome.
Okay.
She was an IA prior to my getting here. One of the IAs is specifically math trained.
Oh,
The other individual actually has a music background, but is assigned to the English department.
okay,
So yeah, there's a variety of different.
okay.
Okay,
And one more thing.
okay.
And the thing about the 5%, I mean, it's optics, you know,
That's it.
it's like gas at $2.99, it went $2.99.9, oh, you know, oh, it's not $3.05, I'm going to this place,
So
you
could we
know.
get it down to 4.99%?
But the optics are important, because that's what people
I
look
know,
at,
I know.
is the number.
Is that what it
He
was?
worked hard to get it down from $3.99.
We did. I think if we can get Arthur to do his part to try to speak to people, because they're not gonna listen to me about, oh, this is just optics. I'm using your word. They're gonna say exactly, oh, what, even 5 decimal point is a lot of money, which it isn't. So, I think if he could speak to that, we have had a sweep of, they cleaned the house of all the Democrats. So we have, our first selectman is kind of easier going person than a lot of people expected. But, another selectman is extremely conservative fiscally. I mean, absolutely not another cent. And on schools, are you kidding? You know, and we also had quite a battle. People, it left a bad taste in the mouth of people when we wanted a new school, because unfortunately, a lot of our, I hate talking politics, but it's a real factor here. A lot of our Democrats did not get the communication out properly. And we were seen as elitist and not people who were interested in sitting at the table and talking to all of the different people. Now, I got off scot-free because that's what I do when I talk to people. What do you think? But a lot of the people that were with the banner, I don't know when we're gonna recover and be able to sit down and say the word school in our town.
I think one of the things to bring to that conversation is to look at page C5, that where a town, and it really affects, I'll say Wilmington, Ashford more because they're smaller, but the year after when there's a high number, the year after, it's always a low number
That's the
or a negative number.
very good thing to
It's
say
just-
to people.
It's just what it is. It's the way it works.
We're
And
running up and
that's
down.
this sort of whipsaw thing that we're in,
Yeah, it
right?
is.
And that's what happens. So just follow the numbers and look at this and say, okay, yeah, when you're that, whatever, that town, the next year it's, substantially different, right?
It's always true.
And it causes these decisions, and we make decisions based on these weird peaks, right? It's bad decision-making overall, but it's the reality that we live in. But I think in terms of, you bring that to the conversation, I would suggest.
Right, and I think Arthur, if you can get him to do the talking with, his supporters particularly, and Samantha. I mean, I know certain people will talk to me and I'll get this information. But I don't know, I got some doubts here. I mean, makes sense to Arthur, but Arthur does his homework and he's trying to understand how this works.
Well, doesn't Wellington also, you're dealing with, your own issues with schools and need to
That's
fund,
what I said.
yeah. So that's another budget
Okay.
consideration for the
That's
whole
it.
town,
Yep.
regardless of whether you're fiscal conservative or not, everything's gonna go up and percentage wise and,
It's sort of sad, but, we can only do like, that's the best point, like, read the data and you'll see sometimes Ashford's problem, sometimes we don't.
Just go back the past 5 years, you'll see at
Yes.
least 2 or 3 of them, Mansfield had a significant impact because of their enrollments.
Yeah.
The other towns don't complain when it's not down in the bucket.
Correct.
Or it's
Right.
negative.
Or it's negative, yeah,
Right,
exactly. And I mean, that doesn't make it right, but it's just,
It's
like
a
Kim
reality.
said, it's the cycle. This is what happens depending on how many kids that you have and how many you're putting into the schools. And,
But I do think we should go for what works best for us rather than what looks best. And if
oh, I don't
2A
disagree
works,
with that.
if 2A looks, thank you for, being the beagle eye there.
It's a $10,000 difference for where we go.
Yeah.
Between, going from 5:05 to 4, whatever it is. I mean, it really isn't, and I think Arthur kind of agreed with that last week. He said, you know, the number, when the dollars are not that much, but, you know, he isn't here tonight, but I think that's the way we looked at it last year. You know, at some point you say, we were a little bit over the, you know, the point, but when you looked at the dollars, you said, it's, you know, a couple of $1,000s, really, you know?
Yeah, but people are so scared, you know, we have people on hard times and, one thing I do wish, the people that were most vocal, they made people, like when I did door to door, I would talk to people and listen to it and say, well, you know, talk about, the finances and what the school, committee had done and building committee had done. And then I would say, thank you for letting us know. And I do think your points are well. So people are scared to death that they be paying taxes they couldn't afford. There's some people older than me, okay? And they, you know, were afraid that they could not exist.
But that's when you have to be able to show the dollars and what it really
Yes,
means as
that's right.
opposed to a percentage that works different.
So, moving forward,
So, we could just like Morgan weigh in too?
Yeah.
I just want to make sure what page she's on.
I'm glad I could make it tonight, I really am.
What do you think?
Yeah, thank you, Janice. I mean, I'm just not sure what the IAs do and how they address the learning needs of the students. So, I mean, I know I can see the argument for saving that cut for later, but it just seems to me like we really need to demonstrate that they have an impact on learning, to retain them long term.
Morgan.
I think so too.
And if it
If we go that route.
initiates an adaptation that's more appropriate for today's structure, communication, delivery mechanisms, test taking mechanisms, these things are changing, you know, over the last 5 years even, right? So
Yeah.
if
They're just uncommon. I just have not heard of general ed IAs in many high schools.
I had a similar reaction when I got here. I had the one.
and
Yeah.
maybe it
Yeah.
reveals something missing or something, that's okay, we can address that, right? In terms of what's most appropriate for
Right.
students, not carry this thing that seems, you know, again, it's people, I get
Yeah,
that,
we can't say they do
but we need to
copies.
keep up and be focused on delivering most effectively to
Right.
students.
Right.
And, it sounds like that is not a key part of that right now.
But it
Right.
could be.
It could
The
be.
money could be.
Yeah.
Or maybe the people could be. We haven't heard how
Yeah.
that's gonna happen
Well, what
here.
about the job description? Is that something we can look at?
It's in draft right now.
I need
We just
that
haven't had
clarified a
an
little bit.
opportunity. I think, you know, looking at it is,
Doesn't take long.
no, and I think it's more, I mean, I can share what the intent is, kind of that, you know, these are folks who would be deployed to where they're needed, as opposed to kind of being pigeonholed into one department. So that really is the intent of the shift in the job description, is to be very specific that in these positions, you might be working with social studies, science, math, English, that you're there to help support kids. So, that really is a big change.
So are you saying that the change would be that they're more student focused? Like that they work more directly with the students
That
than
they would
they
have
are
to be, yeah, they would have
currently?
to be working more directly with kids every period with students.
So then who's doing the photocopying and everything?
The same people who are doing it in the science department.
There you go.
I do my own photocopying.
For me, it can be dispersed, right? People can share.
Yeah, I would never
When was the
say
last
that's
time I
what
most
I
of
did.
us in the corporate world got to the point where we had to do all of that.
Yeah, right, I'm not even.
It's, you know, it's,
Right, it's true.
it's not all, but it's a big chunk.
Do they ever do anything like grading homework?
Or
No.
putting grades
I
in
would
the
have
grade
to-
book.
I would have to check that. I don't know.
You know.
A little more feedback.
I can
Value add,
say,
yeah.
yeah, I can say that when I was a teacher and I didn't have a gen ed IA, I had, special education paraprofessionals in my classroom that they did not do those.
Yeah.
Those things.
Yeah.
They were working to help support the students. All
One-on-one,
students, you know,
yeah.
for the most part, even if they were there specifically for a couple of students with IEPs, they were
It helped others,
working and
Yeah.
supporting.
yeah. And that's usually how they were deployed in Ashford School too. I mean, they would be there specifically for a student that needed special assistance, but then, you know, they'd also be working with, there was a definite benefit to having them in the classroom, obviously. But they were definitely doing, you know, work with students as
Oh,
directed
one-
from the
yeah,
teacher.
One with the math background.
Huh?
I said I really
Yeah, I'm
liked the
like,
idea of the one
yeah.
with the math
Yeah.
background.
Yeah,
That
she's
could-
currently in the math department.
Yeah, that,
Yeah,
that can be a big benefit,
yeah, absolutely.
because like Tim said, we don't have enough. you know,
No.
In STEM, and you don't want to lose math positions, you want to gain them.
Right.
And they can
Right.
fill in and help, that would
Right.
be good. But you need Arthur's input.
Well, I think we're we're a work in progress there, you know,
Yeah.
like. And I think, maybe hearing what Samantha thinks, because, I think the Republicans in our town respect her, you know, and, I don't really know for sure because I don't go to them. Somebody invited me to join the Republican Party.
Is
It happened to
there
somebody else
a
years ago, didn't it?
board meeting tonight? Is that right or not?
So we have,
No, Arthur said he was gonna try to, he had something else happening, and he was gonna be
I
on.
feel like they should go back and
virtually.
discuss amongst
He said he could jump on.
Tuesday just to see how,
I don't know what he
especially
was doing
Wellington is.
in the email.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. we go to-
I think we should meet again next week so that everyone can kind of go back,
Yeah,
take some
Yeah.
time to
Oh,
review the
absolutely,
options,
yeah.
and then
Yeah.
next week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Revisit that.
and that way, hopefully they can look at it. Can we just email these to them?
Yep, I mean, yes, I
Yeah.
can email the full PowerPoint presentation to everybody,
Yeah.
revised.
I know that several people have checked in saying they're still on board with 3. I'm gonna stick with, I think I would go with 2A, particularly with the fact that you're rewriting the job descriptions to be more students. To me, I just feel like having a way to, we need to hire another teacher. Instead of having to look other places in the budget,
it may not exist.
that may not exist. If we have, and if it's working, if the restructuring works, and it's benefiting the students, then it will have been a good move. I just think the dollars are that different, and I think that it sounds like both of them have skills that could benefit student interaction, and if that's the way they're going, I just don't like the idea of having long-term people who've served, just told they're done, when we have options.
Well, if they can be.
If they can be,
more
used- yeah,
effectively.
yeah, I don't think they should just be copying, but I mean, if the restructure is something that puts them much more involved with students, and they both sound like they have some skill sets that would benefit students, then I'm all for looking into that. And maybe, you know, will there be any more progress on that by next week?
Well,
I was,
Well, it's done, it's just a matter of going to personnel.
Okay.
so I was gonna suggest if we're meeting next week at 7, maybe we could all meet at 6.
Yeah.
And look at, yeah,
We
What
have,
do you mean by we?
personnel committee,
Okay.
You're invited if you'd like to come. You all can come.
I think I had asked Mindy, I said, wait till after budget.
What day?
Because she had planned what
It's
for,
next Tuesday, the 19th is when the
April.
budget.
I'm in New Orleans.
Oh, okay. Are
What's
you
that?
on personnel too?
Yes,
Oh, so maybe we
thank you
should.
for remembering.
Jeez, I'm sorry. It's been a while since we met.
You and I
It has been,
sat
since,
together,
yes, and
and I
for a
have
long time.
sent you my notes.
So, Sarah, you couldn't be there next
No,
Tuesday?
I will.
No,
be
so
in
that's
New
why I was looking at,
On business. Are we nerds or
what other
what?
night can you do?
My husband has
Can you do anything this week?
You're not doing business
Yes.
at night.
Oh, well, yeah, it would just probably have to be online.
Well, but it's, you, me,
Oh, personnel, I don't know if I'm in
Sarah.
personnel.
I
I'm
wanna
in
be
personnel. I think I'm in
there.
policy,
You're in policy,
EDJ,
yeah.
No, I really
and,
would like to be
finance.
Debbie, Deborah.
For finance.
And she's out of town right now.
She's out of town.
When she's back.
I would like to go or have like, if there's a job description, to just see it.
Yeah.
Now, I would really like to be there, so
Can you zoom in?
probably don't want to
I just don't want to be in a
because.
situation, Sarah, where we meet next week and you're not here, and then we still can't make a final decision because you know, you're in Wellington and you haven't checked in, you know, so.
Oh, I don't know about that. I think you might be able to come to a conclusion without me.
Well, okay. I mean, where are you leaning? Given, you know, that
I would
you're,
like to just ask you one more time, is this under 10,000 or under 7,000? Do you have a?
no, for Wellington, I think the difference, and this is 2A, which does require us to go back to the 24, you know, thousand
Right.
cut.
What, the district?
But I think
That's
that,
like
so if you look at 2A,
Huh?
the 2A for
Miscellaneous pieces.
Wellington
Right.
is 222,400.
Yeah,
It's just the.
And for 3, it's
2,500 here.
213,800, so it's,
I will have a lot of conversations with departments.
But, I mean,
224, 230, so it's 9,
They're
like,
specific.
it's got
But
10,000.
it wouldn't even be that
Okay,
much though.
I'm just
because
gonna say
that's the
under 10,000
4.86.
because
Let's see, it's a 4.86, right?
I wanted to be as close to a figure.
Wait, that's 3, is that 3?
So would that be about 50 cents? per
yeah.
person?
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
I was
because if
thinking.
you,
with
I
the
mean,
math
you don't have to get all the way down to 4.6.
That's what I
No, no, you don't.
If you're just trying to get the 4.99, that's gonna be.
Well, yeah, but
Under
that's
a
not, we
dollar
don't have an
per
option that gets us
Yeah,
there.
true.
You know, under,
yeah, after a while it
Write that
doesn't.
down.
Yeah.
That's
Under-
gonna be
under
less than a dollar.
2A,
But-
Wellington is 222,443, and under 3, Wellington is 213,866, that's under 10,000.
That's what I'm gonna use, that, and also,
Didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
no, I would just like to, as a knowledge base to be, with you, but darn, I'll be in New Orleans.
Well, what, should we, darn you, what? You get to, no, you get to go to New Orleans, that's pretty cool. That's- I'm not picking on you, I'm thinking it's
You let her move
wonderful
her
that you
chair,
go.
what did you expect?
I think it's wonderful that you're going to New Orleans, but I was gonna suggest, if you have the job description, just to get back to.
Yeah.
If you have the job description, could we just send it out so, Sarah could see it and then she could respond? That would be good.
So
Okay.
we want to set up.
Respond just to one, just so that we
Yes,
don't.
yeah,
have-
respond to
yeah,
share.
notify all.
Yeah.
Respond to
Yeah.
share.
Oh, okay, if you, I'm leaning toward this 2A.
Yep.
All right, so you can put that down if you need
How
to.
about 2B?
No, I don't want that. I mean, it's okay, but I mean, why not just do this?
It is, adds the nickel and diming, but
Yeah, that's what. 2A
So if
does.
you need to say, you can say that I was supportive of that one,
Of 2A.
yes.
Yeah,
If that's important
Yeah.
enough.
So just making sure I have my steps right. We're gonna set up a personnel committee meeting prior to next
Yeah.
week's
Yeah,
budget meeting.
yeah.
I
Is
can,
Arthur on personnel now?
I was looking up, so I don't remember anymore. It's
Yes.
all a blur today. I think he,
I think he is.
is he?
He's either finance or personnel, I remember.
He's not
putting him
finance.
on.
Oh,
not.
it's
He's
one
not
of them.
personnel.
non-finance.
Who are we talking about?
He's still on curriculum.
No, Arthur's not on personnel.
Oh, I thought he
Curriculum
I thought he
policy. He's on
picked up
policy.
another.
What else? He did.
Bob is on personnel.
Yeah, Bob's on personnel.
Yeah, but I think Arthur is too.
I do too.
Arthur's policy and curriculum, but I think we also put him on.
I think he's
personnel.
got three because,
Yeah.
we all want to have three. I did have to, and I was going through my building things. Tim, those were good days.
I just asked.
Good times.
Is this sent the other day? Is that updated? Yep.
No.
That should be, so yeah, it's not- Arthur is on personnel.
See?
He is, okay.
So Arthur,
Okay.
Jim, Sarah, Tim, Bob,
It'd be
Jim,
interesting,
Okay, well, if Arthur's with you,
with what you're saying,
according to the
but
website.
I don't.
According to the.
we can.
But you're on
I mean,
personnel.
using them as
Yes,
it could be
Just as
Website
it-
Tim is
like
has to be
Facebook.
with-
But if they're gonna be working within departments.
I will-
then they're
I will
able
double-
to
I'll
use
double check.
regular
Personnel.
I
Oh,
just,
yeah.
I just had.
Did you just do, did you just do reassignment?
Now they have.
Maybe we don't even put
That
these
might
right
be
now.
right.
Tim, you never come.
Yeah,
We just got,
I think I just got signed.
yeah,
So there's
but
that one, but then there's also for us.
Well, we haven't had a personnel.
I mean, it's gonna be
You
something.
and I.
No, we haven't had to.
Yeah.
We just haven't even-
All right.
I know why, I don't have mine obviously either.
So otherwise I would check, because I have
a
a
teacher
hard
and
copy
get rid
down
of
in my
them,
office, like
or do we
the
just?
other duties. I'll double check. with you.
Yeah, so-
Cause I mean,
Maybe
if you're adding a teacher,
you're
that's
in
gonna add a lot.
building, and I think that that was.
What if you got rid of both?
You know,
Sure.
really
With building
saving personnel.
he just got put on.
Or you
He just
sent it out,
decided,
whatever.
didn't
Apply.
Fresh out of.
Oh, pardon me.
Go check, she sent out the list, right?
He definitely wasn't on it. We haven't met as a.
I was
committee
gonna say, I don't think you've met since
Since December,
negotiations,
like,
so
yeah,
it wouldn't have,
November, December.
he could have been assigned.
Yeah,
to his,
I-
building.
Maybe I did.
Personnel.
No, the assignments
You
were
look, but you
after
just sent an email with
November.
the assignments, right?
Yeah, I'm looking to find it
Yeah.
out.
He's not on 4.
Thought it was even a little later for Tim.
No, I'm pretty sure Tim's not on 4.
No,
No.
Tim is, according to the website, Tim is on 3. He is on curriculum, personnel, and building.
There
Okay.
you go.
Maybe that
We
was,
know he's definitely on building.
he's definitely.
But I'll double
Are you
check.
looking for the email? Tim?
Yeah.
We're counting on.
We built a school.
Do we want to zoom
So
in
let's
for the
do 6
first?
o'clock?
We'll do it at 6.
Okay,
And,
yeah.
do we
Can
want a
you share
personnel,
that?
do we want a, Zoom meeting for that as well? Do you have a Zoom link just in case?
Yeah, just in case.
I'm not, for one time in my life, I'm not taking my laptop.
All right.
I'm
Okay.
not, because,
All Zoom requires is a phone.
you know what, I have never, of course, I've got Zoom on my phone. Okay.
Okay, Zoom it is.
Okay.
You may have to send it to, another email. I'll give you another email. Okay.
All right, so right now we're looking at 2A-ish or 3.
Well, it's kind of split.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
so next week, we definitely have to get to that happy place
Mhm.
where we're gonna be. And, because then the following week is the week where we have the public hearing now.
Oh, that's, okay.
And the.
That's the 26th?
Mhm.
Oh.
Yes, 12.
I mean, I like 2B, but I don't.
Yeah, the public hearing from 7 to 7:30 and then the finance committee meets right after.
It's hard for me to say that because I'm in
Okay.
Mansfield.
114.
Well,
I said I like 2B,
me too. So there's 2 votes.
but I was saying I feel, I guess it makes it harder for the other towns. So that's what my hesitation, but I like the idea of the departments feeling like they have, a little bit of autonomy for programming and things that they might need to support. You know, I mean, that's what those are, really, the little departmental cuts are things to support education, so that's why I like 2B.
Just don't like to nickel and dime.
Because they're gonna say no anyway, we might as well have something weird happen.
Yeah.
They may
So
not, but
Morgan, I think, is still on there.
Yeah.
She needs to be-
Well, I
Did
would
she
say
hear
this,
us?
is if folks from Wellington are willing to work through B, I would too. I was really just trying to,
Yeah,
Yeah, I appreciate
agreement
your
with
being
you.
able to, I could, I don't know, I didn't think to do the math, figure that.
what's
What it
the
would be.
math on 2B? What would Wellington
it
be? How close
vary a
to?
couple of thousand, it's not that
How
much.
close
Well, I mean,
to-
overall, it would
Not
be
even
under
1,000.
$25,000.
Yeah, it's not.
I mean, I'm curious the difference between Wellington 2A and 2B.
It just goes up to 5.18, 505, you can kind of say
Versus
it's 5.
5.18, yeah.
Yeah,
It goes up like $4,500.
But that's optics, it really is
Yeah, but
optics.
that is-
$4,500.
That really is.
so then it is still under $1 per person, right?
Probably.
Morgan, do you have anything for the good of the order?
No, I just think, I think this has really revealed that the IA position, the general ed IA position, if it's going to remain, needs to be really fleshed out and given more responsibilities related directly to teaching and learning. That's what I would say. But in terms of A, B, or 4, I think I'm still in 4, right? Or 3. This is 2A and B, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm still leaning towards 3, but I'd like to talk more about it next week.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody.